It's Thanksgiving week, and you are listening to That 90s Baseball Pod. I am your host, Brandon Warren. You can find me on Twitter at Brandon_WARNE. And my co-host, who also I'm assuming is preparing for Thanksgiving, is Mr. Gregg Olson. You can find him on Twitter at Gregg with 2Gs, OLSON 30. How are we doing today, man?
I'm good. How about yourself? Happy holidays.
Yeah, no kidding. And we decided to go with a podcast extravaganza today. We took last week off and we figured it'd be hard to get into the podcasting spirit with with Thanksgiving coming up later in the week. So we're going to do another Remembering Some Guys with a bit of a twist, but trying something new here, and it has nothing to do with the podcast. But see if I can get my sidekick to jump up here. This is obviously making for compelling audio and video, but he's not interested right now. But like you've had Tank on the show here, I'm sure Rocco will make an appearance at some point. He is not in his kennel, and he is not encumbered by the lockdown shackles. So he may chime in. He's pretty busy with his lunch and then a beef jerky stick that I got him at the PetSmart yesterday during puppy classes. So we'll see. Maybe he won't chime in at all, and that will be just dandy. But when I was prepping for earlier, there were neighbor dogs that were barking, and he was getting pretty wound up. So we'll see. But we have another fun show. Again, to check out all our sponsors, you hear it at the top of the show. Epere, Symbol, Hinterland, all that fun stuff. Excuse me. We are, as I noted, going to go back to Remembering Some Guys. And if you like this feature, feel free to let us know. I know I got strong positive feedback. You had someone who wasn't so sure how they feel about it. And again, in the future, this will just be probably bonus content. And so if people want to see it, they can seek it out. But it is a nice little fun thing for the holiday week. And today we have 1990 Upper Deck. It's a green box if you're watching on the feed here on YouTube. But kind of rude. They have Ken Griffey Jr. on the front of here, but not the 1989 Rookie of the Year, the guy who beat him out. Isn't that kind of upsetting?
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about it at the time. I mean, he was such a phenom star that you just kind of went, yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, unacceptable. But we have the first pack here, and we'll get through however many packs. Maybe it'll be one pack, maybe it'll be half a pack, maybe it'll be 3 packs. I'm kind of interested though, because there are a couple interesting cards in this pack that you can get. It was like a Reggie Jackson something or other, and a few other ones. So the wrinkle that I like here is I haven't seen these, you haven't seen these. We're just rolling with it. Now, again, that's how I did the last time. I didn't look at them ahead of time to prepare you. But this is the added wrinkle of people will 100% trust us because I just opened it on the air. So our first card is utility man, pinch hitter extraordinaire, Lenny Harris. Now, at this point, not a huge big league career. He had played for the Reds and the Dodgers. So when he was coming up, you wouldn't have faced him until interleague play, at least not early in his career. But anything on Lenny Harris?
Thought we were teammates later on in 99 with the Diamondbacks.
Take a look here. In 1999 and 2000, he was with the Diamondbacks. Yeah. Nice little run there, pinch hitting for really probably Andy Fox, and I don't know who else he would have pinch hit for, maybe Tony Womack, but and then the pitcher, of course.
Solid pinch hitter, defensive replacement every once in a while, but really solid pinch hitter.
Well, and let's talk about a guy who had 1.7 career Baseball Reference WAR. And again, we've talked about WAR here and there. Do you have any idea how many different seasons he played in the big leagues? I bet you're going to guess too low.
Well, I mean, we got 90 to 2000. I don't remember much before that. So we're going to go 12?
18.
Did he really?
Yeah. So he came up and debuted in 88. So the year you were drafted. and then finished it off with the 2005 Florida Marlins. I can't imagine they were a very good team. 83 and
That's
79 under Trader Jack. Yeah, so I mean, he's 57 years old and he's played in the last 15, 16 years. That's pretty cool.
Thoroughly impressive. Wow.
And as near as I could, 0 games in the American League, because when he was in Milwaukee, it was towards the end of his career when they had moved to the National League. So never more than 7 years in one spot, never an OPS over 6. I guess Milwaukee was okay, but 667 OPS. Must have been a good clubhouse guy if you're going to hang around that long, in addition to having the skill of pinch hitting.
No, he was a solid dude. Yeah,
that'll do it. Here is our second one. I'm going to try get good at putting these up against the camera because I don't think I've figured that skill out yet. This is Scott Garrelts. And by this point, he had a really nice year in 1989. We'll talk about that. But with San Francisco, if you have a story about him, I might be surprised just because you guys were in separate leagues.
I did not. I got nothing on him. I don't think I'd met him, and seemed like he was a pretty decent player on that San Francisco team that won the World Series.
89, they lost in 4 to the A's. That was the Earthquake series, wasn't it, in 89?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So he led the National League in ERA that year. He made 30 appearances, 29 starts, 193 and a third innings, which back then was probably no big deal. But 14 wins and a 2.28 ERA, 6th place in the Cy Young Award, 20th in MVP. Now, again, MVP voting outside of the top few is kind of weird because sometimes it's, writers from San Francisco voting for San Francisco guys and all that. But let's see, NL Cy Young. Mark Davis won it that year.
Yeah. San Diego.
Yep. As a reliever, holy smoke, 65 games finished, 44 saves, 92 and 2/3 innings. He was striking out almost exactly a guy per inning. Then you have Mike Scott, Greg Maddux, Oral Hershiser. I think Hershizer's inning streak was the year before that.
That was 88.
Yeah, Joe McGrain and then Tim Belcher and Garrelts were tied. That's an impressive season for a guy that I feel like we have not heard that much about.
No, and I don't know how much longer you'll have to pull up and see how much longer he played after that. It didn't seem like it was very long.
He was done before he was 30. He threw, 190 some innings that year. He only had 201 and 2/3 more innings in his career, 2 more seasons. And then, chances are probably some kind of injury bug at that rate. Sounds like you're getting after Tank here.
Yeah, he's eating the bushes.
Yeah, we got one of those too. Every time I take him outside, he's chomping on the perennials, and it's driving me crazy.
He likes them though.
Well, it's a little different here. It was a 2 coffee morning, and it's probably going to be another coffee this afternoon. But it's actually up to 51 degrees. It was about 17 yesterday when I got up, and about 23 this morning. It's a little chillier here, so our plants are in a different state than yours, I'm sure.
Yeah, ours, we had a nice warm front and they all blossomed. And
nice.
And now we're getting the fall weather where it's 50s, and it looks kind of weird having all your rose bushes blossomed. But
I suspect you'll have something on this guy. It's Detroit outfielder Chet Lemon. And so I talked about Bob Lemon a while back, and you mistook me for saying Chet Lemon or talking about Chet Lemon. Bob Lemon was the pitcher. Chet Lemon was the outfielder. Longtime Detroit Tiger and Chicago White Sox. I didn't know about the White Sox days. That was a little before I started paying attention.
Seems like I remember with the White Sox, solid player, solid hitter. Don't know if I ever faced him.
88, 89. So 89 and 90 were his last 2 years with Detroit before he hung it up. But he played for 16 years. Nice career. Almost 60 WAR. So maybe one of the more underrated outfielders of all time. Because again, you don't hear a lot about him as one of the best outfielders of that era.
He had a 60 WAR.
55.6. Now this is Baseball Reference. Fangraphs might differ, but usually the error bar is between 4 and 5 for a career that long, which is pretty impressive. Got hit by a lot of pitches 20 times one season. All-star in 84 with that awesome 84 Tigers team that might be the best. We said one of the best teams well, not in my lifetime. That was before I was born, but certainly in the last generation or two here. Yeah, he is good for like an 800, 850 OPS year in and year out. That's no joke for back in those days when 20, 25 home runs, was more notable than it is now.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. 20, 25 bombs. You were a serious threat at the plate.
When I started watching too, like 93, it was, Juan Gonzalez and those guys hit 40, but everybody else, like your Mickey Tettletons, I remember watching him a lot just because he seemed to always be playing against the Twins. When he'd hit 20, I was like, wow, 20 home runs. That's a lot of home runs. Kirby Puckett only hits that many, and Ken Herbeck sometimes hits that many. So, all about expectations and what you see, but it was a much different game that we were watching back in the 80s and the 90s than it is now. Yeah,
it's funny. I don't know what I saw on Twitter with somebody was talking about Willie Stargell's home run at the vet and how far and how high it was. And then somebody else commented, I think it was Wes Clemens, who played in the big leagues for a little bit, said something about, that wasn't even with the Super Bowl, the Super Bowl days where it changed the dynamic of the baseball quite a bit to create the action.
See, and I thought you were going to come up with like a launch angle or exit velocity reference because you're at least an honorary member of Shigon Nation if you're not an outright member. I've seen you in those tags. Now, Mr. Jeff Fry, who was on our last show, is pretty liberal with the tags. Bob File and you and not Gaetti. I don't know who that is, but he follows me. But a lot of fun out there. And so, it's a good group of dudes. So Chet Lemon, really nice career. Could swipe not too many bags, but he could. Oh my goodness. Actually, I take that back. 58 steals, 76 caught stealing. You're not letting that guy run. Woof. Let's move on. Carlos Martinez. In this one, he's a Chicago White Sox infielder. I feel like I remember him with Cleveland, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna check it out.
I think he got over to Cleveland. I think he was one of the few guys that just wore me out.
Not only that, but not the Carlos Martinez we're thinking of, the Mr. Tsunami, who's a free agent right now after spending all that time with the Cardinals. The young righty he's a free agent now. His arm might well be shot. Gives me a little bit of a Chris Archer vibe at this point in his career. But so you say this Carlos Martinez cat wore you out. 7 years in the big leagues, 383 hits, and you figure about half of those came off you?
I'm giving him like a 3 for 3 or 3 for 4.
Sure. Yeah. Still, I mean,
right. Go ahead.
The guy could move around and he played a little bit all over, but he was one of those 275, 300 at bat kind of guy per year. So not really a starter, but Cleveland in those days in the infield, even at the early times, wasn't easy to crack playing time with Tomei playing third and eventually Baerga at second, Vizquel at short. And then who they have at third after that? Fryman.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was not an easy team to crack. He wrapped it up with the Angels in 1995. Pretty quiet, uninspiring numbers, but definitely a baseball card I remember having like in a 1993 or 92 tops, or maybe a Don Russ. Pretty quiet career. Oh, he's actually since passed away too. I was not aware of that.
Is he really?
Yeah, 2006. So not recently. Wow. I was completely unaware of that.
Yeah, I was too. Speaking of that, we lost Doug Jones and Bill Burton.
I meant to bring up Doug Jones. So one of I don't have the number in front of me of how many guys have 300 career saves. You yourself are over 200, but not to 300. But what was your relationship like? He landed some of the places you did. Just it didn't look like you guys crossed paths in the sense of like before or after you. But What was he, a changeup guy? What was the deal? Because I heard they called him Mild Thing.
Yeah, it was sinker changeup for the most part. He had a breaking ball. I can't tell you which one, slider or curveball, but
Sure.
Filthy changeup, solid sinker, located really well, never walked a guy, never really beat himself, and just kind of one of those where it was a whole bunch of ground balls and frustrating at bats. And I didn't realize that, like, again, on social media, somebody said that at one point he had the team record for most saves in a season for 3 teams.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was Astros, Indians, and I don't know where the other one was. I don't remember what the other one was.
Let's take a look.
Thoroughly impressive. I met him at the All-Star game in 1990. Great guy. We had
probably Milwaukee.
That might have been it. That was it. Brewers.
36 in 1997.
Pretty cool relationship with a lot of the closers in the league because we were all going through the same thing, and all could relate, and really didn't have anybody else in the world that could relate to what we did and what we were going through. So when you see Doug Jones or Jeff Russell or Eckersley out in the outfield during batting practice, always stop by, said hello, talk for a couple minutes, see how everything was, and
feel like
kind of it.
Feel like it's a weird fraternity in the sense that it's viewed as an important job, but finding guys who spend a long time doing it, there aren't that many. You might have a guy pop up, like, I'm just trying to think. Let's say Derek Turnbow for the Brewers pops up and he's good for 2 years, or Billy Koch, or Matt Manti to, go drive it home with someone you were working with. Then you've got the guys that do it for 10 or 12 years, or a guy like Jones. I feel like too, there was this transitionary period where, we don't have radar gun readings for Eckersley, but I can't imagine he was blowing people away. He was great controlled, big wipeout slider. Did he have big velocity, or am I remembering wrong?
No,
like 92, 93?
I'll go 89, 90.
Yeah, and it wasn't a time when every closer was blowing people away. You had guys like Doug Jones. You had guys like, it kind of transitioned, I want to say, probably like Jose Mesa. He had a big velo, didn't he?
He had a mid-90s fastball, a little bit of a breaking ball, but it was mostly fastball, attack.
How about like Arthur Rhodes? These are guys I remember as a kid thinking they threw hard because radar guns weren't such a big deal. Eventually Armando Benitez and all those guys started, throwing the crap out of the ball. But there was a transitional period where not every reliever threw 95, and you had guys like Jones and even Todd Jones too. But a bunch of relievers who did not throw the crap out of the ball. Eddie Gordado here was another one who you just take the ball in the ninth with a couple of nuts in your cup and let's go.
Well, Trevor Hoffman's probably the best example that we could give. I mean,
especially recently.
Maybe 88, 89, just, an unbelievable changeup.
Yeah.
Very talented, very competitive, really good athlete that was able to get guys out consistently in the ninth inning.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So it was too bad to hear about Mr. Jones because I think I heard it might have been COVID related. We're not going to obviously say much about that, but always tough to see another one. And then you said, you say Bill Verdon?
Yeah, Bill Verdon.
Yeah. I don't know anything about him.
Coach, I think he managed.
Is that the Astros? Did I see a picture of him with the Astros?
Yeah, but I think Pittsburgh Pirate in the 50s. My dad got talking to him quite a bit at some of the coaches conventions when Bill would be, doing instruction, and I can't think of who the other player was, but in the World Series, I mean, they were so known for their hit and run, and Verdon was the hitter, and I can't think of who the leadoff guy was that was on first base quite a bit during the season.
Let's take a look.
But the story that Bill Burden told was that, they were so good at the hit and run that the manager never put it on, that he would put it on at the plate.
Sounds like Fry.
Yeah. And so he would touch his helmet or do something, and everybody knew it was coming. And so at one point in the World Series, he touches his helmet, didn't wait for the return or didn't get a return. And so one of them missed the hit and run. So the guy steals it, and gets this big stolen base during the game. Well, it was supposed to be a hit and run, but it was just funny the way the story was told. And it was a lot like Jeff Fry said that, back in the 60s, 50s, 40s, these guys were putting on their own game and playing their game. And it's just kind of fun to think about.
That was the Mazeroski World Series in 1960.
Yep.
Running through some names here. We got Bob Skinner, Don Hoke, or Dick Grote are kind of the guys. I'm suspecting one of those three is the name that's escaping you, because it looked like Verdon hit either leadoff or second for most of that season, right around those guys. So
I wonder if it was Grote.
Yeah, Grote got on base a lot, 371 on base, number one of all the guys. Don Hoke walked 74 times, so that's another one. But let's see. Well, and you probably want to know which guys are stealing bags too. Grote had 0 steals and 2 caught stealings, but maybe that was one of the caught stealing that he's thinking of.
I can't think of what it was. Yes, it's fun. It was just a funny story of, that's one of his memories of going through in the World Series. Huh.
Well, and then, Mazeroski probably, not probably known for that and only that as a player, his home run in the World Series. But here's a guy that I know we've talked about, and he wore everybody out. Wasn't quite at that level yet, but Mr. Edgar Martinez.
Oh,
Check out that bodacious fork duster on his upper lip, though. That's a
good stash.
That's special. What was the deal there? He got blocked at third base, but it didn't seem like he was really blocked by anybody in particular. I don't know if Mike Blowers was at third. It wasn't Russ Davis yet. That's a little too late. Or was it just that he couldn't pick it up over there?
It was Blowers for a bit. Mainly, it was just I just don't think he was a great fielder at third base, to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
First base, they had Pete O'Brien and Tino Martinez. Trying to think who they had in the mid 90s.
So in 90, he started 144 games. So you're starting to get in there. Jim Presley.
Yeah.
So I don't know much about Presley. He was in his mid to late 20s at that point. I don't know if he was a
great dude. He was my hitting coach with the Diamondbacks, 98, 99.
It's always
over with Buck Showalter.
Well, it's always funny to look at the stat lines for hitting coaches. For instance, 275 on base in this season. But a lot of times it's the if you can't do, you teach or whatever. And I don't know how true that is in baseball. But also, too, to hear a closer talk about his hitting coach is kind of fun.
I love Presley. My Jim Presley memory is I think I came in for a mop-up game in Seattle, and he had a line drive off my glove hand wrist.
Oof.
And it ended up bouncing into the home dugout on AstroTurf for a ground rule double.
No kidding. So probably if we had StatCast, one of the shortest doubles in MLB history of 58, 58 feet.
Well, 58 feet, but then the return was maybe another 75 feet to get into the dugout.
Yeah, but I don't know how much credit they give you for a deflection when it comes to distance on a batted ball. I think it probably went further off you than it did off the bat. You did more of the work. He should probably thank you for that.
Oh, that one had to go get x-rays after the game. And that was fun.
Did brief aside, and we got to talk about Edgar a little more too. Did you like playing on turf? Because I would imagine in some respects having grounders that were predictable would be nice, but it's obviously not true, and it doesn't play true always in the sense of like grass would.
Yeah. I felt like it's sped up the ground ball, so balls got through that necessarily wouldn't
Okay.
have. You take away the little component about the errors, but seeming like places like Kansas City that was more built on concrete.
Yeah.
Same with, I
Probably
felt like
Minnesota.
I felt like the Minnesota was a little bit softer, and I might have been wrong, but I'm thinking of Kansas City and some places that the turf was just thin and fast.
Why did outdoor stadiums have turf? So I know, I think for a minute the Astros tried grass in the Astrodome with a clear roof and it all wilted, if I'm remembering correctly from one of the books I read as a kid. But why would an outdoor stadium have turf? That to me just does not add up.
The only thing I can think of is weather.
The heat in Kansas City, maybe.
Well, you got the heat.
You can clear it off too if you get snow for some reason in Kansas City. You can clear it off pretty fast.
I just felt like it was the weather, but St. Louis was always turf. Long ago. Kansas City was always turf. Then you had Toronto, Minnesota, Seattle. We're missing one more, I think. I might be wrong, but they all felt like they were just hot, fast. And I don't understand why the outdoor ones did, but that's funny that the Astrodome did. I remember reading that as well. At some point, the Astrodome tried to do grass, and that was with the problem when Arizona initially, they got the grass in late at the end of it. So the Bank One ballpark or whatever it's called now, we won't go into that again. Whatever it was called, it was running. I don't know. I don't think it was running behind. But it was like the infield, the grass was the last thing to be put on. They couldn't keep this, 20 by 20 yard patch out in left field. They couldn't keep it alive to save their lives. I mean, they got the heating lamps out at night. They're watering it all the time. And it was just like one patch after another was dying and they could never figure it out.
Sounds like my lawn this summer in Minnesota when it was 90 every day. But did you guys call Bank One the Bob? I know I had a friend who lived out there and called it the Bob, but is that more a fan thing or was it an actual widespread thing?
I think we called it Bob.
Okay. So let's talk about Edgar for a minute here. He could hit home runs, but he wasn't Ken Griffey Jr. It was doubles. Like I feel like a guy could hit 50 doubles or 45 doubles in his sleep. In that sense, he was kind of a non-traditional designated hitter, but at the same time too, he was just such a good hitter that you would definitely have to find a place for him, right?
Oh, dude could rake. I was happy to see him get in the Hall of Fame because he was that type of player. I know a lot of people argue about the DH going in. But the dude could just flat out rake. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of bombs. He could hit them if needed, or they would come, at opportune times. But I think your call is right. Double machine, solid, just a solid 320, 330 hitter almost every year. It felt like.
And I feel like he hit that double down the left field line that scored Griffey in '95. I want to say. Yeah, like the quintessential Edgar double, peeling it into a corner or running the gap. I mean, doubles come in all different shapes and forms, but I felt like the quintessential one, he'd just pull it with authority and then Cadillac it into second because he's in there easily. But anyway, let's move on to another one here. Milwaukee outfielder, and Milwaukee was in the American League at this time, so you might have seen this guy, Glenn Braggs.
Yeah, no, I got him mixed up with somebody else.
Probably Darren Bragg.
I think of Darren. Is it Glenn? All right, give me what we got on Glenn's stats because I'm thinking one of them.
Well, Darren Bragg,
light hitting outfielder.
Darren Bragg played for the Red Sox in the mid '90s and was I think he was a leadoff type, probably a center fielder, but not a bad player per se. Glenn Bragg.
I'm getting Glenn Bragg and somebody else with the Brew Crew. of that era mixed up. One was a power hitter, the other one was a light hitting, pinch running.
So
defense.
Yeah, Bragg's was the light hitting one. 370 slugging percentage in 1989. So the year that we were going into these cards. 86 through the beginning of 90. Let's see. Who would have been the power guy you're thinking of? Let's see. Cecil Cooper was pretty far along by that point.
Wasn't John Jaha. Was not.
I'm thinking like Chuck Carr.
Oh, no.
But he's later and fast. He never had any semblance of power. I mean, otherwise, it's Robin Yount, Rob Deere, Ben Ogilvy. You're talking about big power.
Maybe go 2 years later.
So we're talking like 91 or 92?
92, 93.
Well, Matt Miskey was on those teams.
Nope.
Let's see, 92 gets us to the post-Molitor era. Dante Bichette, probably not him, obviously, but
no.
Greg Vaughn. Daryl Hamilton.
No.
He could really play, though. Tim McIntosh, a friend of mine who's from the Twin Cities area. Let's see, 93, you've got Juan Bell, Alex Diaz, Matt Miskey, Troy O'Leary.
No, I got nothing then.
Boy, we're
must be my imagination.
We're just swinging and missing here with Glenn Braggs. Turner Ward, maybe? I don't know.
No.
He could run too.
Turner was one of my favorite people to face on the face of the earth. So I definitely remember him.
Yeah. So, I mean, either way, though, we're talking about Glenn Braggs. We'll backtrack a little bit here. Looked like he could, he was pretty decent. Not a huge standout. Obviously, in that era of Milwaukee, you're going to be overshadowed by Robin Yount and Paul Molitor.
Yeah.
It wasn't the wall bangers anymore. It was
Cirillo came in like 91, 92.
Yeah, and by that time Braggs was gone.
Yeah, they had John Jaha, who had a couple big years.
Yeah, I remember Jaha had the weirdest stance. I felt like his legs were kind of closed or whatever, but he held the bat high, had big time power. And the reason I remember so much about him is because he played in Scott Erickson's no-hitter in 1994, which I probably watched over and over and over again on videotape when I was about 9 years old. And so actually I got to talk to Scott Leyes about it in person because when I met Scott Leyes, it was at the UPS store that I managed because he lives in the Twin Cities now. And he says, I said, hey, I'm a big fan. And when you're a guy who, you played on a World Series, but you didn't play for very long and you weren't a star, they give you kind of this funny look when you say you're a big fan. And then he's got that gruff kind of Yonkers, New York external personality. And I said, oh, no. You caught that line drive first out of Scott Erickson's no-hitter. And immediately it just melted. And he's like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. And he looks at me and he says, I think he looks at me and says, Billy Spires or something like that, like whoever hit it. And at that point we were actually pretty good buddies. But I tell you, if you want to tell a guy who was in the big leagues and didn't be a star that you're a big fan, you got to have some kind of equity because otherwise they're going to see right through you.
No, I gotta kind of look at it and go, I appreciate that because you're not a big star in the big leagues and somebody recognizes you out in the middle of nowhere, then without a name, It's not like if you walked up and said, picking something up for Leyes, and then you kind of went, all right, one thing, but just to see him standing there and pull him out, that's pretty impressive. Yeah.
So he was definitely impressed. Had a few different guys come through like that. Did you say am I remembering correctly? You said you were a Vikings fan?
Yeah. Grew up, Frank Tarkenton, Ahmad Rashad, Chuck Foreman.
So even still to this day, like, are you happy? You're wearing purple, I see, kind of. They beat the Packers this weekend.
They did. It's kind of magenta.
It looks purple from here, but Everson Griffin came into my UPS store one time too, so I got to meet him. That was pretty fun. But this is not that 2000s football podcast. This is that 90s baseball pod. We got a checklist. The fun thing about checklists is they basically just tell you which guys from the team have cards, what number they are. This is a 1990 Cleveland checklist. I want to see who you think it would be.
Cleveland. So we got
a big star, not for Cleveland.
Okay.
He was a good player. One of the most iconic World Series moments of all time.
Oh, Joe Carter.
Yes, very good. I love it. We got a Joe Carter checklist.
How about Joe Carter? My rookie year, so in '89, we're in Cleveland in that big old crappy stadium. And Sunday day game, I think it was really before I started closing, but Mark Williamson was closing the game out. We're up 2-1, or it's 2-2, bottom of the ninth, guy on third base. And Joe Carter lays down a perfect drag bunt, froze everybody in the yard for a game-winning drag bunt knock.
Wait, what year was this? 88?
It had to be 89.
He had 2 bunts all year and then not another one until 92, and then not another one for the rest of his career. So either after this story, he either had 1 or 2 more big league bunts in him. So that's impressive.
Yeah. 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, game tying, winning run on third, and he drops a bunt.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's pretty solid.
He was the kind of guy who would lead the league in sacrifice flies, but not sacrifice bunts. Played 162 games, 3 seasons in a row. Probably wouldn't be as appreciated in today's game with his impatience, but boy, he could smack the ball. Confession time, since we're talking about Cleveland, I have never seen Major League.
You're kidding me.
I know. I get that a lot. I would tell people I'd never seen Slapshot because I'm from one of the most important hockey towns in the entire nation. So I've never seen Slapshot. Yeah, right. And I've never seen For Love of the Game. I've never seen Bull Durham.
Oh my! You know what? You're losing all credibility with anybody that might ever listen to this.
Well, yeah, that's the 90s. Like I watched Little Big League and Angels in the Outfield, but
you watched the 2 worst of the whole batch.
Exactly.
I'm sure you're a big fan of Rookie of the Year too, aren't you?
It's okay. I mean, I like movies that get the spirit of baseball. So like, I don't like the cartoonish whatever. I mean, because I am passionate and like Billy Bean says, how can you not? Well, Brad Pitt, how can you not be romantic about baseball? I like the games that the movies that stick to the game in terms of the way it works for the most part, as much as you can in a movie. But so I've had people tell me Trouble with the Curve is absolute garbage and all that stuff. But yeah, my baseball movie knowledge is extremely limited. Field of Dreams is number 1 for me. And a lot of people now, it's kind of the hip thing to crap all over Field of Dreams as feel good nonsense. But actually the guy who played Chick Gandel in that movie just passed away a couple days ago.
Yeah, he was great.
Babe Ruth too. He was Babe Ruth, and he was
in Sandlot. Yeah.
So he was
a great character actor.
But he's character actor, and then in a lot of baseball things. He must have had a baseball face. They talk about he's got the baseball face. He must have had the baseball face.
What was he? Wasn't he the Tooth Fairy in Santa Claus too?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Those guys make plenty of money with those little bit parts, I'm sure. So, but Field of Dreams was good.
Yeah, we got to get back to, you need to see Major League.
Yeah.
It baseball wise, it leaves a little bit out there. You're not going to obviously win the AL East with a team that got picked up and would get ridden over by a bus. But it's a pretty good. It's fun to watch. It's funny because it's all. I think they might have one other stadium in there. They play at Old County Stadium in Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. Is most of the baseball stuff. Then they act like they go on this road trip to Cleveland, and they changed the vantage point. So now they're up behind home plate up top, and it's still Milwaukee. It's just now they're doing this one shot where, you know, an actual game's finishing up. I love Major League. It's just kind of comical. I had Wild Thing as my theme song my whole about first 3 or 4 years in Baltimore.
Nice.
Let's see. For the love of the games, probably my favorite baseball movie.
And that's Costner, right?
That's Costner.
Yeah.
Really well done baseball scenes. Outfielder Tuttle was outfielder for LSU.
Yeah, we talked about that. His name is escaping me, but
yeah, Michael Papajohn. Yeah,
Papa John. I knew it was a name.
My sister-in-law. Yeah,
I knew that the name Papa John. I'd have to remember that.
Character of the game, and then Slapshot might be one of the funniest movies. The Hanson brothers and old-time hockey coach.
Couple of old guys in my hometown, like in their 60s, well, probably in their 70s now, dress up like the Hanson brothers at least once a year and get together at a Roseau Rams game. So if you ever hear of Roseau hockey, that's my hometown. And
okay.
So there's 2 baseball movies that are on my list that I haven't watched yet. Fear Strikes Out. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
So that's about an outfielder, true story. Jimmy Pearsall. I think he went nuts and like jumped in the stands and mental health issues. So I don't say that derisively because obviously, you know, we didn't understand those things as well back then. But then my Spanish teacher said Sugar is really good too. And that's about a Hispanic baseball player. So I'm going to have to check those 2 out because I'm always on the lookout for baseball movies that capture at least some of the essence of the game in that sense. But here's another guy that could really hit. Julio Franco. Here's a checklist for the Texas Rangers. I could have probably teased you with who that would have been, but that was a pretty fun team. Pete Incaviglia, maybe at that point the best college hitter of all time, would you say?
I'd say he'd make a really good run at it. Yeah, 48 college home runs, I think.
Whew.
In his career, coming out of Oklahoma State.
Those teams had to be fun to watch. Probably not fun to play against.
Ruben Sierra,
Nolan Ryan, Jeff Russell,
Franco.
Kenny Rogers, Palmeiro, Jamie Moyer, Bobby Witt, Sierra, Charlie Huff, Chad Kruger, Steve Buechele. His kid's in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
Harold Baines. I mean, when you look at that, you're thinking, oh man, that team won 94, 92 games. And then you go back and look at the 90 Rangers, and I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but I doubt they were that good.
Well, they led the league in their pitching, led the league in strikeouts and walks.
Oh well,
that was a Tom House era of Texas pitching.
Did you guys think he was nuts, or did you think he was a revolutionary, or did you think he was a little bit of both?
I kind of thought he was nuts.
The whole football business and all that.
Yeah, the whole football business. But I'm going, you know, the proof is in the pudding, man. And your team's leading the league in walks. So what are you bringing to the table here?
That's Wild Thing right there.
Yeah, I think Mitch Williams might have been there.
Who knows? Probably.
Well,
they won 83 games that year, but
they could rake
20 games out because that Oakland team was pretty good. So Chicago.
Yeah,
Chicago missing the playoffs with 94 wins. No, I'm sure not. Back in those days, how much did it stink for teams to be? So, for instance, the White Sox won 94 games, did not make the playoffs. But on the East side, the Red Sox won 88 games and made the playoffs. Was that something that guys didn't care for, or did they not really talk about? Was it not a thing? Because I mean, eventually in 94. No playoffs in 94, but they added the third division, eventually, the wild card and all that. Or was it just shut up and win the division and you just kind of nut up?
That was it.
Yeah.
Just shut up and win. I mean, my rookie year, we lose to Toronto by 1 game.
Right.
They go to the playoffs. We don't. The next year, Boston wins it about the same amount of wins in the AL East. And I just laugh because it's like, look at my son who has no idea that the world used to have only 2 divisions, East and West. And, it's Toronto, the Yankees, Boston, us, Milwaukee, Cleveland, and you run through it and it's like, and then you got the West. And it was always a dogfight and there was nothing else. No wild cards. And
before that, it was just AL versus NL. You win your pennant and then go to the World Series.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was, I didn't mind it. You didn't know any better and it's been this way for 100 years. So what are you going to complain about and who's going to care?
Yeah. Nobody's listening. Okay. We got a teammate, Randy Milligan.
Moose.
I don't remember much about him.
Milligan. Yep. Solid first baseman. Not a whole lot of pop. Gap to gap guy.
I kind of appreciated the guys back in the day that, good for like 15 home runs every single year, like Mark Grace, Orlando Merced, maybe Kent Herbeck on a down year, Will Clark. I mean, guys who could hit, but didn't necessarily light it up in terms of, 25, 30 bombs every year.
Sorry, I lost you here for a second.
No problem.
There you are.
Yeah, no, I was just hashing it out.
Milligan came over. We had like a little thing with the Mets on a couple trades. I thought he came over from the Mets at the end of 88, made the team in 89 or it was 89, 90, something like that.
Mets
came over, played first base, solid, good, great guy.
Mets and then Pirates and then you guys. Very brief stopover with the Pirates.
Huh. Okay.
For Pete
Blom.
I
think we were you know what? He was, remember in the movie A Few Good Men?
No. Again, I've never seen
watch that one either, did you?
No, you're gonna kill me on these.
Oh God.
Yeah, like
okay,
people
for all those out there that have actually seen a good movie, A Few Good Men. You remember when Tom Cruise came in to his apartment and he's watching a baseball game, and that was Randy Milligan hitting a game-winning double off of Rick Aguilar of the Twins.
Oh, Rick Aguilera,
thank you.
Aggie.
So Milligan hits a 2-run double off of Aggie in the bottom of the ninth in Memorial Stadium in like 1989 or 90. That was on the TV when Tom Cruise came walking into his apartment or Demi Moore came walking in to see him. So there you go.
There's an entire like sect of people who, when baseball is on in a background of a show, need to figure out the exact moment. Like when Ferris Bueller catches the foul ball, and I think Field of Dreams, Ron Kittle might be hitting, but I'm not sure about that for the White Sox. There's a few other ones, but I digress. So Milligan and you played together for a couple years there, and then he moved on to the Reds for as a free agent, and then was traded by the Reds later that season for Thomas Howard, who I don't remember a ton about, but he was.
I thought Thomas Howard had some pop for a little short time. Milligan left us in Baltimore when we made the trade for Steve Finley.
Oh yeah,
Pete Harnish and Kurt Schilling for Glenn Davis.
That's almost like that. What was the trade for Bartolo Colon and Brandon Phillips and who was it? Grady Sizemore? Wasn't that a trade for
I don't remember.
It's gonna bother me without looking it up. So you're just gonna have to bear with me here, because it was when you have those trades that pan out like Glenn Davis is a good player, but you look back and Kurt Schilling's a borderline Hall of Famer and all that. It is funny how that happened. Cliff Lee, Brandon Phillips, and Lee Stevens for Bartolo Colon and Tim Drew. So I don't know why I thought Grady Sizemore was in that, but
wow.
Oh, wait, no, Grady Sizemore was in that. I'm on Grady's page. I'm such an idiot. Grady, Cliff Lee, Brandon Phillips, and Lee Stevens for Bartolo Colon and Tim Drew. That's an impressive trade.
Good night. I mean, for those out there, Lee Stevens also had wasn't long, but solid power hitting first baseman. Angels, somebody else.
Yeah, there was an era there where guys, Brad Fulmer came up and was hitting for power as a first baseman, and Henry Rodriguez. They had the old Henry bars in Montreal. You'd have a few guys who would pop up. Geronimo Baroa ripped the ball for a while too. There were guys that maybe came out of nowhere or came out of somewhere with a little added incentive. But Lee Stevens.
Go ahead. I was just going to say Fulmer, I thought, won the Golden Spikes out of Florida.
He might have. Yeah, no, I just mean guys, though, that it wasn't an extended period of time. You look at a Rafael Palmeiro, who was the same guy for many years, or at least, real good hitter. Fulmer came up for a while, and then all of a sudden, it's like Jack Cust. We didn't talk about a guy like this like we did Adam Dunn, for instance.
Good names.
I'm full of names, man. We talked about Cleveland for a minute here. We'll probably go another 10 minutes if you have time. Okay. And we'll maybe even do an episode on this, but in 1993, spring training, they had that tragedy at Little Lake Nelly.
Steve Olin.
Yeah, Steve Olin and Bobby Ojeda. And when I saw Tim Drew, it made me think of Tim Cruz. And then we had the Cleveland card here. What was it like either then or anytime an active player would pass away? Because, later in your career, there was, I think maybe Mike Sharperson, there were guys kind of just not often, but it's gotta be kind of strange. These are guys are peak athletic performance. They're in the prime of their life. It's gotta be kind of shocking, even if it's a guy you only kind of barely know.
Yeah. I remember Steve Olin was a borderline submarine that the year before really started coming into his own as a closer for the Indians. And Bobby Ojeda had a nice career, came from the Mets, I think on that 86 team.
And he was the one who survived.
Yeah. And then Cruz was from the Dodgers. And so I never knew any of them personally.
Yeah.
It was just one of those where, boating accident. And I didn't want to find more. I didn't want to find out anymore. No. Thinking of Jose with the Marlins.
Fernandez.
Jose Fernandez. These are just tragedies of, one that hit me probably hardest was Daryl Kyle.
Oh,
who,
yeah.
I played with in 96 and, passed in his hotel room. It's just... it's like anything else, man. When a young guy passes or young people pass for, way before their time, it's hard. It's hard to fathom, hard to, figure out what would have happened and what they would have done.
Right. To shift gears, which is kind of hard to do. Do you remember who Kirby Puckett hit the home run off in the 91 World Series in Game 6? Because that's who we got next.
Charlie
Leibrandt.
Yep. Charlie Leibrandt.
With the Royals at this point. Not a bad little career. Around for a long time. That Braves team could really pitch. You talk about any Braves team from the 90s and you could just apply the general superlative that they could pitch. But, you had guys like Steve Avery as your number 3. I think Pete Smith was pretty good for a while. Kevin Millwood came up at the end. They had some guys.
Avery was a 4.
Yeah. That's right. Smoltz. Yeah.
Yeah, Smoltz didn't close. Avery was like a 4, maybe a 5. They had Merker.
Merker was good too, yep.
Trying to think who else. We might need to get Merker on here. He's on he's pretty active on my Facebook.
I know Pete Smith was a guy they had big hopes for. I don't think it ever panned out, but I'm trying to think of who else.
They had one more. They had a Baltimore kid too, like 89 that flashed up real quick, had a really good year, 89, 90-ish. And then
not Lilliquist.
Nope. Right-hander.
Not Marty Clary. Someone who was good.
Yeah, he had like 2 years in the big leagues, and one of them was a big year with the Braves. Oh man, I can see his face too. I hate getting old.
Rick Mailer? No, he was 34 at that. Kevin Kaufman?
Nope.
Well, either way, I mean, we're probably not going to find it. But if we go
I
back
can't think. Yeah, you know what? I'll come with. Oh, about 10 minutes after our show, I'll come up with it.
David Palmer. No, I'm not. I don't think we're going to find it. But anyway, yeah, Lee Brandt.
You know,
Lee Brandt could really pitch.
Yeah.
140 career wins, 33.4 WAR, 371 ERA. I mean, 371 ERA, I feel like in that era was maybe a little bit underrated because they tended to skew towards the lower threes as opposed to the mid and upper threes as far as top tier guys. But boy, in this era, if you could have a 3.71 ERA in today's game, you'd be making some big time bucks.
Yeah, and putting together 140 wins, solid ERA,
200 innings,
gave innings. Yep.
Steve Rosenberg, White Sox. Anything on him?
I got nothing.
How about we're down to the last 4 here? Ooh, there's at least one more good one in here. John Moses, a Twin who I had known nothing about other than light hitting outfielder.
It would be, I think, Darren Bragg reincarnated for the Twins.
Okay.
Light hitting, 4th or 5th outfielder, pinch hitter for a couple, little while, but not very long.
Oh, and they had some pretty good outfielders back then with Puckett and eventually Mack and Bernansky and Gladden.
Yes, they did.
Tony Pena. So maybe the pioneer of kneeling down as a catcher. Wasn't he kind of curious when he would kick his leg out there to catch?
It would have been him or Benito Santiago would be about the only two I could think of that really took that leg out, and I would not say doing the splits, but getting about as low as you can get.
Yeah.
Solid catcher. Seemed like he was chirpy, might not be the right word, but constantly talking.
Couldn't hit at all, could he?
Not much.
Yeah, he was like that guy who you have those catchers. He had some years with a pretty good OPS early, but there's this prototype to me of the backup catcher who's a really good fielder who will pop exactly 10 home runs every year, but will not do anything else offensively. So I'm thinking like a Tom Prince, a Henry Blanco. I feel like that with a little less power was him at the end of his career, like maybe a Jose Molina as opposed to, Benji, who was a little bit more of an everyday player. But I don't know. When I think of my traditional backup catcher, I like those guys. Mike Redmond didn't quite have that kind of power. He's a better hitter than that. But they hang around like Tony Pena did for 18 years. And then he was the manager for Kansas City when they finally broke through again in 2002 or 3. I think it was 2003.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I think he got more starting time than I think you're giving him credit for.
Yeah, I know he did. Actually, you're right. 140 games. I'm thinking of him as later in his career when I started watching, when it would have been the tail end of Boston and then Cleveland and a few games of Chicago and Houston. I'm not giving him credit. He almost played 2,000 MLB games. He deserves a little more credit than I'm giving him.
Yeah, no, I think, I knew you were thinking of him as the backup guy, but he had a nice run of being the starting guy. I mean, still never hit a lot, but was, I don't know, I want to say like, Molina with the way people looked at him. You couldn't run, watch the back pick,
Yeah.
Yadier Molina type.
Caught 35% of attempted base thieves. That's the kind of guy you want in your back pocket if you're on the mound.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, 2 left here. I don't have any idea how to say this guy's name. Don A's?
Ossie.
I almost said Assy, and I didn't think that would be very nice.
Don Ossie.
He was in the Orioles organization when you were drafted.
Yep, he was there in '88 in the bullpen with me my first big league month. Solid dude, great guy. Had a pretty nice career. I couldn't tell you. It's been, what are we looking at? 33 years. I couldn't tell you exactly what he threw off the mound, but solid dude, big leaguer, and had a nice career.
Yeah, anytime you hang around for 13 years as a reliever, you're doing something good, or at least the last 8 or 9 years of his career. What were bullpens like then? Did you have an identity, or were you just kind of a bunch of guys just hanging out?
Man, back in '88, I was one of the call ups, so I had no identity, and everybody was just kind of fighting for their spot. '89, I think we went between 5 and 6 guys in the bullpen, and yeah, you start locking in. I think it's, I thought it was really crucial to have a spot where you knew where you were coming in, so that, you don't surprise me and bring me in the third inning when I'm thinking I'm, setting up the closer.
Right. All right. Well, let's wrap it up with this one. Third baseman, Houston Astros, future MVP winner.
Camaniti.
Ken Camaniti. Yep. Mr. Camaniti, very early in his career. At this point, we're about 250 games in, and he has done nothing to this point, because going into 1990, he was going into his age 27 season and had a 650 OPS. Boy, you could have gotten some pretty good futures bets on that guy winning an MVP in the future. Certainly we know a lot more about him since then. And, there's questions of if he was doing it clean or not, but holy smokes, that 96 season. 40 homers, 130 RBIs, 326, 408, 621 across the slash, won a Gold Glove. Unbelievable. And at age 33, I mean, there's a reason why people aren't sure he did it clean, right?
I mean, he passed, correct?
Yeah, he passed away in 2004.
Yeah.
I think he was in like New York City, and it was I think it was drugs, I want to say, and I don't want to say that. Looking here.
Anyway, he was got to know him a little bit just across the field. Great, really solid guy. Teammates loved him. I think he was famous for, they went down to the Astros that year or the year before or the next year, 95, 96, 97, went down to Mexico for a series of games, and he got food poisoning, and he was just screaming out, "Somebody give me a Snickers." And ended up getting a little Snickers deal because it kind of hit the light. And that was, I think, the only thing he could keep down. I don't know what it was, but he went out there, finished the game. I can't imagine that with food poisoning.
No, there's no question about that. Yeah,
but dude could rake, play, one of the best third basemen in the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely incredible player. Actually passed away on the same day as Christopher Reeve, who near and dear to my heart, because my brother's paralyzed like Reeve was, and so there were parallels there as far as his recovery or how his life went after his accident. And so yeah, well, that is one pack. We got through one pack today, so we've got some ammunition for the future.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Today we have remembered some guys. Have a good Thanksgiving. Take good care of the pooch.
You too.
I have no idea. Oh, mine's on the floor sleeping here. So we're
nice. Mine was good. Outside and found the firewood that I bought, one of those little 7 packs.
Oh yeah.
Just because I needed some and I haven't gotten a cord yet. And so he was busy tearing this off the firewood off the back. And I'm like, he just comes running up and drops it in front of me. I'm like going, okay, that's great.
Thanks, dude.
Can't keep the dog outside while I'm doing the podcast.
All right. Well, hey, we'll catch up with you next week. Yep. Have a good Thanksgiving. You've been listening to That 90s Baseball Pod, powered by Access Twins. We'll catch you later. Peace.
Happy Thanksgiving.